Good day, folks. It's Pastor Russ. Just have another update for you, another time of devotional while we're still not able to meet together as a church. It's my hope and prayer that everybody's doing well. We're trying to stay in touch with everybody between myself and the other deacons. We're trying to reach out to those who are homebound, as most people are through this. But we pray everybody's doing well and everybody's healthy through this. We are continuing in this time of semi-lockdown. We're in the second week of the 2-week shutdown that the president had called for to try to get ahead of this virus and this Wuhan Chinese virus that we're dealing with. And we see right now we're in the phase where the numbers keep going up every day. But please don't be afraid of that fact. Yes, this is serious and we have to be careful, but understand that part of the reason the numbers are going up is because more people are being tested. We're discovering more and more cases of people who had the virus but just weren't counted. It's not like it's exploding so horribly that it's just out of control. I think we're fairly successful in what we're doing. By looking at the numbers, I've been trying to follow the numbers as closely as I can, just for my own understanding and also to be able to give others peace of mind. We are nowhere near in the place that some other countries are in this world with this. I mean, Italy is still a mess. They are still having hundreds and hundreds of people die every day. They are in the cases in the thousands who have died, and tens of thousands who are infected. We are third in the world in total cases right now, and our numbers do go up because, again, more and more people are being tested. But we're still like 10,000 behind, I think, Italy, and 20,000 behind China. But the good thing is, even though we're third in the world in cases, we're about 6th or 7th in the world in those who have died. So there are other countries who have less people, who have less cases, but their people aren't surviving to the extent as ours are. We're hoping that trend will change. Of course, we want to see this thing come to an end as quickly as possible. We hope and pray everybody is praying for that to happen, and the president has in fact called for the notion that perhaps by Easter Sunday we could have the nation be open again with jobs and businesses opening. We're about 10 days away from that at this point, so we don't know if that's going to happen, or a week and a half. I don't know if it's exactly 10 or not. I didn't bother to do the math. But that would be wonderful if the first time we can come back to church is on Easter Sunday, the most glorious Sunday of the year. It would be incredible. But whether or not we will, it doesn't matter. I will still have a message for that morning, and we'll still celebrate Easter even if we have to in our homes. Now, as I said, we will not be meeting this Sunday. That's the 29th of March, and it's not looking like we'll be able to be there for Palm Sunday the following week. But we'll let you know on that for sure. Again, it's not just the presidential proclamation, but also our governor, too, would have to agree to release people from these orders of staying at home and so forth. He has quarantined more counties now in our state with greater numbers of cases, so that people have to essentially stay home unless you're going to the grocery store or the pharmacy. But we'll see what happens with that. I think our numbers, the latest statistics that I saw, in Pennsylvania we have about 1,127 cases now. Here in Schuylkill County there are 6, and there have been a total of 11 people who've died in Pennsylvania. So that puts us around 10th or 12th in the nation as far as amount of cases and amount of people who've passed away. Still, the worst hotspots are New York, and especially New York City, New York State, and basically almost all of that's New York City, Long Island, that area, account for half of the cases in the whole country. So that's a huge hotspot. You want to stay away from there as much as possible. You don't want people traveling from there here. New Jersey has exploded with cases being so close to New York, And of course, California is growing with all their homeless problems and things like that in San Francisco and Los Angeles. It's spreading there. And Washington State was an early hot spot when, as one of the first infected people came into our country, was there, and they didn't realize what it was at first. So, but there are other states who have some growth and some people who died, so I don't want to minimize this. But it isn't the absolute end of things with what the president and his team are working on with these new medications, with getting medical equipment to the medical people. Hopefully we can get ahead of this as more testing is done and more people are self-quarantining. We can stop this. Remember, the whole point here is to stop this virus from being able to jump into a new host, because it can only live so long in each person, and then it will, the body, either somebody sadly will pass away from it, or the body will build up the immunities and the antibodies to fight against it and eradicate it within our body, whether or not with medication or without. But if it can't spread to a new host, it can't continue to survive and spread throughout the world. And that has to be our goal. And that's why we're not meeting for church, even though I know some churches may still be trying to do that. I saw a story, was it 2 days ago, that somewhere in the South, both the pastor and his wife and 30 members of their congregation all tested positive for this. So it's a case where, the wise thing is to just not meet, to stay away from people. You know all the rules and guidelines for keeping yourself, germ-free. I won't go through all that again with you. But have hope. We are working on this, and we will continue to work on this. I thank you for those of you who found our new church YouTube page. The Sunday sermon was put on there, as well as on our church Facebook page. If you're watching on there, that's great. I think the numbers, just as I looked at them this morning, about 50 people saw last Sunday's sermon on YouTube, and about 27 of those saw it on the church Facebook page, 27 or 30, somewhere around there. So thank you for participating in that. Please, if you're watching this, please don't forget to like the Facebook page. If you haven't, hit the subscribe tab on YouTube and click on the notifications bell so that when we put more videos online, you'll be notified of that. It doesn't cost you anything, and you can stay kind of connected to us here. We're also putting, if you've seen in our church Facebook page, we're putting other devotional types of things, some humor, some good music to inspire, and we'll continue doing that. Please, if you have prayer requests, please contact me. If you're a member of our church, you have my phone numbers, my email, or one of the other deacons, and they'll get word to me. We'll mention any new prayer requests with this coming Sunday's sermon during our prayer time. If you're watching this on YouTube and aren't connected to our church, just leave a note, a comment on the bottom. You don't need to go into details or be personal. Just say, please pray for so-and-so, and if you want to include why, because they've got cancer or they had an accident or they're out of a job, or you don't have to give personal details. We want to protect everyone's privacy, but we want to be able to pray for the needs of those who have them during this time. We don't want anybody to feel alone or feel afraid, because God is still with us and He's still working. And on that note, our devotional time for today comes to us from the book of Joshua, the first chapter, verses 6 through 9. Now let me explain to you briefly the background here. The book of Joshua begins after Moses dies. He had led the people of Israel out of Egypt. They wandered in the wilderness for 40 years, and when Moses died, Joshua, who was his military commander, became the leader of Israel. And so now he was commissioned by Moses and blessed by God, anointed by God to do this, and now it was time for them to enter the promised land and to conquer it and have their own homeland. So in preparation for that, God has this good advice for Joshua, and it's also certainly good advice for us today too. Let's take a read here. Starting in verse 6. Be strong and courageous, for you shall give this people possession of the land which I swore to their fathers to give to them. Only be strong and very courageous. Be careful to do according to all the law which Moses my servant commanded you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, so that you may have success wherever you go. This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do according to all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have success. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not tremble or be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Notice here in these few verses, the Lord repeats that phrase, be strong and courageous, 3 times. He wanted Joshua not to be afraid, because the odds and the obstacles that they would face would have seemed impossible to the average person. But God wanted his people to know that he was going to be with them, and they would be successful, they would have their homeland, and he would protect them. And even though the original context of these verses was for Joshua, for the people when they were beginning this phase of conquest of the land of Canaan, the general principles in this passage apply to us today too. We need to be strong and courageous, not be afraid. Whatever lies ahead for us with this whole crisis situation, this virus situation, God will be with us. He will never leave or forsake us. He'll be with us wherever we go. And that's what we have to cling on to through this time. Whether you're going through a harsh difficulty right now or it's just a minor inconvenience, we still want to hang on to the Lord's strength and trust him to guide us and protect us. And if we are in Christ, then we know our eternal destiny is secure, that we don't need to be afraid of anything this world would throw at us, because we know ultimately our home is in heaven with him and the rest who believe. So that's my prayer for everybody listening to this. Be strong and courageous. God will be with us. He will be with you. He will be with your family. He will be with all who call on his name. And he will help us as individuals, as families, as communities, and as a nation to get through this and to overcome it and to move on to what we have next in this life. So hang in there, be safe, be healthy, be wise, and keep trusting and praying for God's guidance and his blessing and his protection, because he's promised that he will give it. So we'll see you again. Until then, Lord bless.